everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Heather. Today we're doing a video that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I've had the books picked out, I've been prepped, I've just been trying to get through a few of my other reading plans first, but we are picking books based off of the cover today and reading them. If you do not know, I have a degree in PR and advertising, that's my bachelor's. I have a master's in professional communication. One thing that I find really interesting, in addition to just generally loving to read, is the publishing industry. I think it's very fascinating from a communication, PR, advertising point of view to see how they go about that, how they go about marketing a book. There's so many different techniques that they use, and one of the big ones is the cover. We always say don't judge a book by the cover, but let's be honest, we all do. And that's part of advertising. There are people whose sole job is to design covers, and so I think to a certain extent you can put some weight into a cover. What I did is I've picked 3 books solely based off of liking their covers. This is something that I've wanted to do for a while. I have varying opinions on book covers and which ones I like and which ones I don't. There's some things that are just hard no's for me, like real life people don't love. That will automatically make me hate your book cover. But there's things I really like. There's lots of different styles that I enjoy. Having someone who's done lots of graphic design classes, I think I can appreciate a lot of different styles. I also find it very interesting to look at trends in book covers. I feel like we go through trends. The real people on covers was definitely a thing in the early 2000s. At this point, we're definitely moving towards minimalist designs, especially if you look at like the sci-fi world. I think you see a lot of those covers getting redesigned to be more minimalistic and futuristic looking, which I think fits the genre really well. So that's one thing that I think you have to take into account is, does it fit the genre, right? The whole point of a book cover is to kind of give you an idea of what the book's going to be like, and I think that that is a really important aspect to book cover design. And so I've picked the books by their covers, I'm going to read them, and then we're going to see, first of all, is it a good book? Do I enjoy the books? Can I pick books based off their covers? Second of all, do I feel like the cover is designed well for what the book is something that I'm kind of going to be looking at. I probably won't dive too deep into that, but it is something I'd like to kind of look at as we go through these books. So I picked 3 books today. I'm not going to take you to the bookstore because I feel worried about filming in public. So I'm going to show you the books. I'm going to walk you through why I like the covers, what drew me to them, and then we'll read the books and I'll let you know my thoughts. First book that we are going to be reading for this video is Murder Your Employer. This is by Rupert Holmes. I've seen this book everywhere on social media, and every time I see it, I'm just blown away by how pretty the cover is. The hardcover, kind of boring, but the dust jacket, very pretty. The other thing is it has a beautiful map. So first impressions there. I have read the blurbs on all of these. I'm pretty picky about the content in my book, so I've done a little bit of research just to make sure there's not like spice and gross things in them. So hopefully I'm gonna be clear on this one, but other than that, I'm going in relatively blind. This is more of a thriller. Obviously you kind of know what genre you're getting because bookstores set them up by that. So this is in the mystery thriller genre. And I think from first impressions, the book cover definitely seems to give off the vibes of a mystery thriller. It's kind of the darker tones, got some spooky gates, it's very old-fashioned feeling. So based off of this cover, I would assume we are kind of in an old-timey setting. It's been a long time since I read the blurb on this, so I can't remember if that's true or not. And yeah, I'm getting some very gothic-y vibes based off this cover, so I really like it. I love the gold foiling. Hopefully the light from that window will show it off good. Really love this cover. This is one of the more detailed covers that I like. I feel like you can do either really minimalist or you can go very detailed. This one's probably more on the detail side, but I think it's just beautiful. I think the spine is really pretty. It almost looks textbook-esque, which I think really fits with what the title is, like it's a guidebook. So I think overall, really beautiful. This is the first one we're gonna read. One of the things that always gets me when it comes to book design is the spines. Obviously, we love to display our books on bookshelves, and I think that having good spine design is really important. One thing that I really love is when they make all of the spines match up, either just in general, design-wise, making them match up good, or making a picture, I think is really cool. And that's what drew me to these books, is they were on the shelf with the pictures along the edge, and I was just like, okay, that one got me. And that is His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. I know her series, what is it called? Deadly Education? Is that what it is? Something like that. It's really popular. I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about this one on YouTube, so I don't know. I've never read one of her books. There are a lot of them that look very interesting to me, but when I saw the spines on this one, I kind of got sold. I will insert a picture of what all the spines look like together, but they make a picture of like a dragon across them. Super cool. I love the color schemes of the blues and grays. I think the watercolor vibes of this one, I guess let me show you a close-up, are really pretty. And just generally, dragons are fun. So this one, the spine on this one's a little lame because it's just like the edge of the picture, but obviously once you get them all together, they look really cool. I have read the blurb. I remember the basis of this. I think it's basically Napoleon, but dragons. It's kind of as much as I know about the plot, but I'm super pumped about this. I love the little boat showing you just how big that dragon is. I think that gives you some good details. I like how the dragon's tail like wraps around and matches the font. I think typography is also a really interesting thing, where you've got all the curves, all the nice little swooping lines in the font in addition to the tail, and I think that really ties it all together well. So super excited about this one. And then the last one is one that I hadn't seen anywhere. I've never seen anything about this book. I just saw it on the shelf and was like, cool cover, I'm gonna read that one. And this is Silver in the Wood by Emily Tesh. I'll show you the cover. I love this design of the plants turning into the person, and then I don't know if you can really see, but there's like that little house built into it, and I think it tells you a lot about the story. We're obviously looking at a very foresty, plant themed one, maybe a house in the woods, from what I can remember. And from what I can remember about reading the blurb of this, it is very magical, rooted in, is it Ireland maybe? And so I really like it. The spine is so small. Obviously they couldn't do much with that. This is not a thick book at all. And the back's just very simple, but I kind of like this. This is one of the more minimalist ones, and I do really like that vibe. And funny enough, I'm just noticing Naomi Novik is the blurb on the front. So that's the last book we're going to be reading. So these are my 3 books. I should be able to get through them pretty quick. None of these are super huge. I'm going to dive in with the biggest one first, I think. We're going to check Murder Your Employer off my list. I've been waiting to read this one for a really long time, so I'm super excited about it. And I will check in with you when I have made some progress and have some thoughts. Hi everyone, quick update on this book. I am currently at page 114, so I feel like I can actually explain a little bit what this book is about now. Basically, it's kind of a combination of several things. On one hand, or I guess how the setup is of this book is you're reading basically a textbook that this person has gone back and made with some of the case studies, examples of people that went to the school and how it worked out for them. Obviously it's a school for, as they call them, deleting people. There's a glossary and a foreword, and those are really important. They kind of set the stage for you. They give you an introduction to the narrator, some of the terms that they're going to be using throughout the book, like calling people deletionists, stuff like that. So yeah, do read those. That's really important. But basically the foreword sets up for you that we are following 3 students who went through the school all recently after World War II, I believe is what it says. And you're kind of just following their stories. There's one main person you're following. His name's Cliff, and he has an interesting journey to end up at the school. And basically a lot of the book is you reading journal entries from the Cliff person. And then it also kind of, the narrator will like interject little notes and be like, Cliff didn't write this down, but here's some other information you might need to know. It's kind of how the book's written. It's definitely very humorous. It gives me similar vibes. It's like a mix between The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, or whatever that one's called, by Brandon Sanderson. It's kind of a mix between those vibes, and then we've been watching a show called Leverage, and it's kind of like that too. It's been fun so far. Nothing super crazy. It's just you're following through the journal entries, so I'm interested to see. I'm not quite halfway, but I will probably update you again when I'm finished with this book. Alright guys, it's time for another update. I have finished Murder Your Employer. This book is very interesting. I'm having a hard time deciding exactly how I feel about it. I think I'm gonna go ahead and rate it a 3.5. I feel like it's one of those books that's fun, but it's nothing crazy memorable or gonna stick with me for a super long time or anything like that. It's just a quick fun read, but it's not something that I'm gonna go around recommending to everybody or be like, you absolutely need to read this. This isn't my top recommendation for people. There are a few things in here content-wise that are towing a line for me. I don't think there's anything so bad that I'd be like, don't read this book. But there's definitely some stuff that I'm like, I wouldn't recommend this to younger audiences. There's a few things in here where they're basically trying to play up just how bad the people are that they're trying to delete, right? So in order to paint the picture of just how bad these people are, in order to push someone to that point, there's some stuff in there that's not super fun to read, but they do it in a pretty non-explicit way, if that makes sense. So that's how I feel about the content, which is definitely part of what's bringing down my rating a bit. As far as the plot goes, I think it's super fun. There's some fun characters. The different missions, I guess, that they're on, that they go about, are pretty fun. They're all very different how they end up. There's one character that I didn't love as much. Her name's Dulcie, is that right? It does not say on the back. I think her name's Dulcie. She isn't my favorite. The other two I like a lot better. And you're kind of jumping back and forth between the three of them. As you get towards the end where they're actually going on their missions, you're jumping very frequently back and forth, and it gets a little hard to keep track of exactly what's going on because you're switching point of view so frequently and there's such short amount of time. And sometimes it doesn't really set it up for you exactly who it is. The one person's really easy because you're mostly reading from his journals, but everybody else, sometimes it gets a little confusing of who exactly it is, and it took a second for me to figure out which person I was following. So that kind of took me out of it a little bit. I almost wish we would have stuck with one person for a little bit longer before we jumped POVs. So that's my thoughts on Murder Your Employer. Overall, I think it's good. I think the cover fits the vibe pretty well. It definitely gives it a little bit more of a serious look than the tone of the book. The book is very funny, but I think it matches with what the vibe is that they're going for this to look. It's meant to look a bit textbooky. It's meant to fit that kind of dark academia vibe, even though the book's more just kind of for fun. I will also say there are a lot of fun details in the book, or in the cover, that come from the book. At one point he describes, this is like the front gate of the school, and so he describes that and it matches up with the cover, so that's super fun. The other thing is there are illustrations of some of the buildings throughout the book, so let me see if I can find one. So for example, there's one. Hopefully that focused. But that was super fun to see some of the buildings. The map, I found out based off of the back of the book, there's a little thing about the author and the illustrator. The map was drawn by somebody who does stage design. Her name's Ana Luizos, something like that. And she apparently has worked with the author a lot because he does Broadway shows, which I had no idea. This guy has a crazy back career like leading up to this. He's written several musicals, some of which have won Tonys. He has written several novels. One of his novels, called Swing, which I need to look into, has a whole score, a musical score that goes with it. The songs give you clues to the book, so that one's super intriguing. I need to look into it. He also wrote the words for the song, it's called Escape, the Pina Colada song that they have in like Guardians of the Galaxy. That Pina Colada song, he wrote the words to it. So yeah, this guy has quite the random background of stuff that he did before writing this book, which is super interesting, and I definitely need to look into some of his other stuff. But that's how I felt about Murder Your Employer. That being said, I did also start last night Silver in the Wood. I picked this one up. Again, this is by Emily Tesh. I am only 32 pages in, but this book is only like 105. So it's very short, very quick. What I've gathered so far, I can give you kind of the setup, is you have this guy named something Silver, Henry Silver, and he's just bought a manor and all of the surrounding grounds, and in the woods there's this old man named Tobias who basically is the village crazy, sort of, but you're kind of finding out as you go that he's maybe actually a character from folklore around there, and he's the old man that controls the forest, and the forest is full of nymphs and fairies and stuff like that. So I think that's as much as I can tell you. I don't know entirely where this is going. The two characters have met, but again, I'm only 32 pages in, and the actual writing, like the actual book, started on like page 9. So I'm really not that far, but I'm also not that far from the end of the book. There is, I believe this is a duology, so there is a second little book like this. So we'll see how I feel about it if I decide to go into it. But so far, I'm feeling like the cover works pretty good with what this book is about. So I'm gonna finish this, and then after that, I will probably start His Majesty's Dragon, and then that'll be the end of the video. So I'm about to go out of town for the next week. We're gonna be going several places, but I will try and update you as we go, and we'll probably finish this video on the road. Hi guys, it is time for an update. I have finished Silver in the Wood. I'm trying to decide how I feel about this one. I think I'm gonna give it a 3 stars. It was fun. Just a nice quick little read. It devolved into a bit more of a romance once I got about halfway through, and if you've been watching my channel for a minute, you know I'm not the hugest romance person. And I just feel like with such a short book, there wasn't time to really delve into world and magic and also have the romance going. And so I felt like there was just a lot of stuff that could have been so interesting with the magic and the plot that was going on, but we got distracted and just didn't delve into it as deep as we needed to in order for it to make sense. And so it was like, okay, you know, like, and maybe this is a book where if you understood some of the folklore and the stories that this is based around better, then you wouldn't need all of that. And so then, I don't know, maybe that makes more sense, but I felt like there was a lot of stuff that I had never heard of before. I'm not sure if they're existing fairy tales, story, folklore surrounding them, or if this was stuff that she made up for the book, but I felt like it just wasn't fleshed out as much as it could have been, even in the 100 pages. I think you could have done more with it if it hadn't been so focused on the romance. So I definitely think this was more of like a romantic book than a fantasy like I thought it was going to be, which was a little bit of a bummer for me, but I still think it was all right. It just isn't my favorite as far as short story books go. My favorite short fantasy is Thornhedge by far. I think that that one is done so well, and so unfortunately I find myself comparing a lot of short fantasies to Thornhedge, and none of them have quite held up. So that's how I felt about Silver in the Wood. I feel like the cover matches the first half of the book really well, but then it becomes much more, again, focus on the romance, then focus on like the fantasy fun part. And there's definitely still stuff going on in the second half, but it just is so surface level, breeze by. You just kind of have to accept everything that happens because there's just not time to cover everything that goes into the book. So that's how I felt about Silver in the Wood. I have started my next book, which you'll have seen clips of. Sorry, you're on a rolly chair, so hopefully that wasn't too wiggly. But His Majesty's Dragon. I am 54 pages in, and I'm really enjoying this so far. It starts out, you're following a Navy, is he a commander, a captain? Captain's probably, yeah. He's gotta be a captain at the beginning of the book. Anyways, you're following him and his crew. They're part of the British Navy, and right at the beginning of the book, they capture a French boat and they find a dragon egg on it. And then there's this whole thing. Basically, a lot of what we're doing right now is just following along kind of the setup of how dragons and humans interact in this book, and just kind of setting up the world building, right? But it's been done in a really fun way. You're getting the character of this captain established really good. You're getting the character of the dragon established really well. And this series is called the Temeraire. I'm not entirely sure how to say it. The Temeraire series, and that's the name of the dragon. So that's kind of fun. But the dragons talk, which I'm loving. I haven't read a lot of books in my life where dragons have talked, and I'm really liking it. So I think the dragon gets to be a bit more of a character in it, and it's fun. But humans and the dragons like bond in this world, and so you have like one human that is bonded with the dragon, so the captain ends up bonding with the dragon. And that's as far as I've got. I'm assuming at some point they end up going and actually joining into battles and stuff. This is set in the Napoleonic Wars, so I'm assuming at some point we're gonna see him actually go to battle with the French. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at so far. I'm super excited. I also love these covers, and I would love to have all the spines lined up again, so I'm glad that I'm liking it so far. But I'm gonna go ahead and read this one. Definitely small words, like there's a lot of words on a page, so there is that to look at. And this book is, I think, is this the longest one I've picked for this video? It's 317, so I don't know, I can't remember. No, I think Murder Your Employer is longer, but I'm excited. I'm gonna keep going on this. I'm not sure if I'll update again in the middle of this book or if I'll just update when I'm done, but that's what's happening with this book. I'm enjoying it. Sitting down to edit this video, and I realized I never actually filmed an outro for this video or my final thoughts on His Majesty's Dragon. So I'm here to end the video now. It's been a couple weeks since I finished all these books, so maybe that's interesting to give you some of my thoughts, having been a while since I read it. But first off, let's talk about His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. I did finish this book. I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I do feel like to a certain extent this is a first book in a series, right? We're kind of building some stuff up, getting the world. There's not a ton of battles or action happening until the last little bit of the book, but I will say she writes war scenes and battle scenes really well. They are quite detailed. So if you're not a huge person into like fantasy and plots and stuff like that, it might get a little boring to you, but I thought it was really good. I love the dragons in this book. I think they are so fun. They have such strong personalities. Overall, just a really, really good solid book. I have actually read the second book already. Again, it's been a few weeks since I did the video or read the books for this video, so I have continued the series and I am going to keep going with it. The second book was also really good. So yes, I would highly recommend. I think this was a great introduction to Naomi Novik's writing. I am pretty obsessed with it. If you are into dragons and you want a book that is just truly about the dragons, this is a good option. At the end of the book, also, I thought it was fun. In this book, there's like a professor who studies dragons, and at the end of each book, you get a little snippet from one of the professor's books, essentially. So like, for example, this one has in the back from the one guy's sketchbook, and so it's got like these pictures and then some thoughts. It's not the most entertaining part of the book to read, but it is interesting and it's kind of a fun little additional content situation. But yes, I'm loving it. Highly recommend. This is definitely my favorite from the video, but just as a recap, partially because it's been a while for me. Murder Your Employer. This one was alright, to be honest. I haven't thought about it a ton since. The author seems really interesting and I would look into some of the other things from the author. I think I probably would read the next book. There's supposed to be another one coming out called Murder Your Mate. I don't know if there's a date for it though. I guess it's scheduled for late 2024. I'm not seeing a specific date anywhere. So I do think I would probably pick up the next one. I think it was that good, but I wouldn't say that this is like a new favorite. Do still love the cover though. Silver in the Wood, this one's probably my least favorite from the video. Again, just nothing super special from this one for me. And then obviously His Majesty's Dragon, I really enjoyed. And I do think that this cover fits really well with what the book is. I think the vibes, it's got pieces from the book, it solidly matches. So this is a good one to judge based off its cover. But that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. I hope you enjoyed this. I really enjoyed reading based off of covers. I'd love to know if you'd like to see me do another one of these videos. I've considered maybe doing one of books based off their covers, but specifically choosing covers I hate. I think that would be kind of fun, and just see if maybe I'm missing out on good books because they have terrible cover designs. Because there are a few books that I own that I really enjoy that I hate the covers of, so can't think of any examples off the top of my head. So let me know if you'd like to see another video like this, whether it's choosing ones that I like the covers or choosing ones that I don't like the covers. And I will see you in the next one. So thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.